guys! Welcome to Mompreneurs Unleashed, the podcast that celebrates moms who are taking on the world of entrepreneurship. Join us as we chat with inspiring mompreneurs who are sharing their tips, tricks, and secrets to success. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom with a killer business idea, or if you're a working mom looking to turn your side hustle into a full-time gig, we've got you covered. Get ready to unleash your inner mom boss and start profiting like a pro.
Welcome back to another episode of Mompreneurs Unleashed. It's your host, RaQuita Weathers. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the pivoting point. Knowing when it's time to leave, to change, to grow into something new. I think a lot of us, especially during the pandemic, we were kind of forced to either create something new or just develop other ways to make money, especially since we were at home. It's relevant to see how many of those businesses are still existing. So, for example, I myself am a victim of this. During the pandemic, I created a passion project of mine, which was Lifestylish Magazine. Loved this project. It was something that I was able to do while at home. I was able to be creative. I was able to use my photography in other ways outside of just social media. I also got to test my graphic design skills. It was super fun. It was great for me. I also found it as a way to advertise my clients, for them to be seen on different platforms, in print, in digital, and it had its benefits, right? However, over time, again, just like any other work, it became work, trying to meet certain deadlines, and it became kind of rough. And at the same time, I wasn't monetizing it the way I initially planned, wasn't receiving enough advertisers, for example. And because of that, it just didn't make sense. And I could have kept going. However, did it make sense for me to keep pushing this project, keep pouring money into it, and not really see a return? So the moment I left my corporate job, that's when I took a step back to really assess what was working in my business. So for me, photography is my main thing, okay? That's the bread and butter. That's what pays the bills. It's my main thing. And I had to see, how can I make the main thing be more profitable now that I was doing it full time? And by me having the magazine, it literally took away time that I could have been pouring into the photography business. Not even just that. I left corporate because I felt it itself was taking me away from my family. It was taking me away from my home life. And I wasn't able to truly juggle it the way I would have hoped to. The reality is, once you become a mom, the things that you probably signed up for when you started a job, those tasks change, the roles change, management changes, all of those things, they're not, you have to kind of step back and say, okay, does this still work for where my business is? Or where, not even about the business, you. Does this situation work for me and my family? If the answer is yes, I can make it work, I can make do, great. Go for it, be strategic, and get it done. But if the answer is no for you, if it's truly no, and if you realize that you're juggling too much or it's just not sustainable, then this is where you have to really sit down, not just about yourself, sit down with your spouse. If you have older kids, maybe involve the older kids. But when it's little kids, it's you and your spouse, and you two are figuring this thing out together. I had to do this in my home. Again, I was juggling all the things between the corporate 9 to 5, and it was never 9 to 5 because you know what? In corporate, it's when the job gets done. So that sometimes could have ended up late at night, which I found myself doing quite often. You're juggling that job on top of trying to maintain client relationships and deliver client deliverables, cooking and cleaning for the family and getting laundry done. It's this never-ending cycle. And here you are, you're working 3 full-time jobs at this point because somebody's got to do it. You have to learn, how do you separate the day job, your personal job that you have, your business, right? And setting the boundaries for the family. Now, I told you I had to sit down and do this with my family recently. And honestly, I was driving myself insane trying to manage it all. And on top of, like I said, having a magazine, which Where was the time for this? So anyhow, it was too much going on. And my husband had finally got to a point where he was able to handle the whole household. He saw I was driving myself so crazy that it wasn't going to be good for him, good for me, or for the kids if I were to stay in the situation that I was in. And ultimately, we finally got to the point after years of talking about this where I pulled the plug and I wrote the letter. And I finally admitted to myself, RaQuita, you cannot do everything. You have to be realistic. Being realistic for me was saying, I choose to be a mother to my kids first. I choose to be a wife to my husband first. I choose to be the woman of my household that I know I could be. However, everything else was taking me away from this. When you are in a phase of, it's really just disruption. You're not happy, you're uncomfortable. I always tell myself, it can't be this difficult for no reason. And I always say that God makes things happen. He makes you uncomfortable when you're in a place too long or where you're not supposed to be. And when you hear that, if you have that feeling in your gut, you experience it and you know, hey, if you keep trying to do it your way, you will find out the hard way that this isn't what God intended for you. So for me, I took the leap back in, actually it was November 2022 is when I put my notice in, and December 2nd was my last day. When I put the notice in, I had such a weight lifted off of me. And it was everyone even around in my job, they noticed, RaQuita, you're so different now. Yes, I am, because I'm not worried about the stress of this place. And it was never anything against the company. It was just the management of it all. I have 2 little ones. Having a business, my business was making as much as my corporate job was. And then on top of that, just having other stuff happening around the house like that I felt I could never get around to. I chose me. By choosing me and choosing the kids and choosing my husband, it has made such a difference in our lives. Now, I actually can make it to softball. Not softball, we're in Pee-wee. Making it to Pee-wee practices after school, or taking my son to karate now. Being able to pick him up at school because school gets out at 2:20. Like, golly, hello, what can we get done in the day when they have to get picked up so early? I was able to set a schedule for myself that worked for the business. It worked for me to have time for myself, as well as me being available to my kids. I've kind of said this earlier, but I have a schedule that works from 9 to 2. At 2 o'clock, don't look for me after that because it's time to pick up my son from school. Y'all hear me on that. Dinner got to get cooked, getting the house cleaned, the laundry. Yes, we have a cleaning lady that comes, but y'all know y'all clean before the cleaning lady comes. I am able to kind of be the traditional wife. This was something I was never really planning to do in the beginning because I was such an independent, I'm making air quotes, independent woman. I used to say to myself that I could do it all. I could have it all. You can. It can be done. I will not say that's impossible, but I will tell you something would have to give. It's going to be you, your mental health, your peace, something in all those things you have to give, because there's no way you're able to pour the same level of commitment into everything. And once you truly understand what's most important, you guys know it's your kids are most important. Your spouse is most important. And if you're so busy pouring it into everything else, they're going to remember the neglect that you've put on them. And that's just being honest. That's what you're doing when you're kind of, I hate to say slaving, but you're slaving over these other things. You're missing out on the moments that you have right in front of you. So if you get into this funk, of not being able to truly just kind of be there for the ones that really need you and for yourself, think about it. If you're having too many sleepless nights, you're not able to function, you're having anxiety just over little things, then maybe you really need to take a step back. So this could be in your everyday, your work life. This could be in your personal life. This could be in your business. Whatever that thing is for you, I want you to take a moment and truly assess where you are, assess where you want to be, and then make a plan on how you're going to get there. My plan to leave corporate took me years. I've wanted to do it for so long. However, it was never the right time. But I tell you, when those around you really, truly see what the stress of trying to manage it all, what it does to you, and if you have the means, because I'm not saying it's not for everybody to just up and leave your job. Sometimes we know entrepreneurs that are pushed into entrepreneurship and they have to make it work. So there's no other choice. If you have the ability to really sit back, figure it out, do the thing that's hard to you, then you'll be so much happier. Your family will be happier. There's so much more on the other side of the troubles that you're seeing only because you're so stressed out, because you're doing too much. Stop all that extra grinding. Stop being the person that feels you have to do it all. Anybody that knows me from over time, you know I do the most, and that's a fact. But I have learned I don't want to be the person that does the most. Not anymore. I don't. I have learned that I value time to sit at home and just watch TV sometimes, or actually pick up a book, listen to a podcast. You know, hey, I actually enjoy doing laundry and cooking. You know, some of the things that us millennial women, I know earlier on it was kind of taboo, like, oh, you're a traditional woman, but we're modern women now. We don't do all those things. I find pleasure in doing it, and I find pleasure in knowing that my husband loves to see that. He feels loved at a different level than me trying to do the most because I'm quote unquote independent. Not to go on a whole rant about that thing, but just take what you've heard today and I want you to apply it to your life. And hey, if I said something that interests you or kind of sparks some conversation with you, hey, leave a comment on this podcast. Drop me a message, send me an email. Let's talk. Thank you again for tuning in to Mompreneurs Unleashed. Thank you for letting me rant and just kind of share my thoughts and feelings with you guys. I will keep continuing to do this because this is something that is passionate to me. And just like you, I'm a mom. I'm a business owner. If you're married, hey, I'm a spouse as well. But I want you to know that anything is possible. It is possible. You just have to believe in yourself. Until next time.
Thanks for checking out another episode of Mompreneurs Unleashed. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Tune in next week for our following episode.